Michael Cohen's attorney, Lanny Davis, is on the payroll of a Vladimir Putin ally. What? Shouldn't that be big news? Did anyone tell Robert Mueller? Does Lanny Davis have a collusion problem? Lanny Davis, the longtime Clinton confidant, who's also the attorney for former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen, is on the payroll of a pro-Moscow Ukrainian oligarch with direct ties to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Do they know that in the Southern District of New York? Or are they busy chasing phony campaign issues? According to Foreign Agents Registration Act, or FARA, their records reviewed by Conservative Review, Davis is an active registered foreign agent for Ukrainian billionaire Dmytro Firtash, of the famous Dmytro Firtash family. A review of his social media record shows that Davis has never tweeted about his Ukrainian client, seemingly preferring to advocate quietly for Firtash, who faces enormous legal issues in courtrooms across the world. Firtash's ties to Putin have been exposed in several investigative reports. Moreover, the Ukrainians' deeply corrupt business practices have put him on the radar of U.S. authorities who are currently demanding his extradition to Chicago to face bribery charges. Firtash, like many oligarchs tied to Moscow, owes much of his financial success to the Putin regime. Now, this is Lanny Davis's client. Over the course of his business career, Firtash has secured sweetheart deals with major Russian state-owned energy companies, which filled the Ukrainians' pockets with billions of dollars. The investment into Firtash paid off big time. From a geopolitical perspective, he played an integral role in securing victory in the 2010 Ukrainian presidential election for Russian puppet Viktor Yanukovych. Following a popular uprising in 2014, he had to flee the country. He now lives in exile in Russia. Hey, we have another Russian connection. Another Russian connection. Somebody send a homing pigeon over to Robert Mueller and his gang of left-wing Democrat Clinton donors. Now, Lanny Davis has been the principal lobbyist for Mr. Firtash since at least June 2014, which notably is just a few months after Yanukovych, or however the hell you pronounce it, was thrown out of office. He's the Russian puppet. During that time period, Davis was earning $60,000 per month from Firtash. The number was expected to be boosted to $80,000 per month plus expenses, around $1 million a year, when Davis re-registered as Firtash's chief lobbyist in 2016. That contract remains active to this day. Wow. Where are the investigative reporters on this one, other than a Conservative Review? I'm waiting for the New York Slimes and the Washington Compost and the Constipated News Network and MSLSD all to reveal this. What do you say, Katie Terr? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you say? Jake Tapper? Golden age of journalism? You idiot. I'm sorry. According to Reuters, an investigation by Reuters into Firtash, well, there's one who's investigated it. Bankers close to Putin granted Firtash credit lines of $11 billion. That credit helped Firtash, who backed the pro-Russian Ukrainian president, successful 2010 bid to become Ukraine's president, to buy a dominant position in the country's chemical and fertilizer industry and expand his influence. Now, the Reuters report continues. With the help of Firtash, Yanukovych won power and went on to rule Ukraine for 4 years. The relationship had great geopolitical value for Putin. Yanukovych ended up steering the nation of more than 44 million people away from the West's orbit and toward Moscow's until he was overthrown in February. He's a deeply unpopular man in his native Ukraine. Firtash currently lives in exile in Vienna, Austria, as U.S. authorities continue to spar with Lanny Davis and his legal team on extraditing the Ukrainian billionaire to the United States. Firtash is accused of attempting to bribe Indian authorities with an $18.5 million advance to secure the sale of minerals to the U.S.-based defense contracting giant Boeing. Additionally, several human rights groups and anti-corruption groups have urged U.S. authorities to place Firtash on the global Magnitsky list, which would impose heavy sanctions on Firtash and alienate him from the global markets. Now, this, again, is Lanny Davis's client, according to this report. So Firtash is not merely a corrupt businessman who owes his success to one of America's biggest adversaries. He is also deeply tied in with elements of organized crime in Eastern Europe. According to Foreign Policy, it's a magazine, Firtash is a longtime business partner of Simeon Mogilevich, who has been described by the FBI as the most dangerous mobster in the world. Uh-oh. I better wear a bulletproof vest. What do you think, Mr. Producer? While Lanny Davis is representing Michael Cohen pro bono, his primary source of income appears to come from a man who's currently a top priority for U.S. authorities. Davis has quit the client on his hands. Excuse me. I'm reading this off the screen. Davis has quite the client on his hands. The longtime Clinton confidant has spent the last 4 years of his life fighting in court for a man who owes all of his success to a Russian autocrat, who is also deeply connected to a worldwide criminal network. As one of America's top adversaries, the Kremlin has prioritized sowing general discord in the United States. Is Lanny Davis the foreign agent for Putin's man in the Ukraine, forwarding the Kremlin's mission to spread chaos by attacking the authority and undermining the mandate of the duly elected president of the United States? This guy has a lot of explaining to do. A lot of explaining. He dared to lie about Trump's supposed knowledge of the meeting that took place at Trump Tower with a few Russians and Don Jr. and so forth. Then he walks it back. Then he claims that his client knows something of Russian collusion. Then he walks it back because they figured out, wait a minute. Cohen testified under oath that he didn't know any of those things to the Congress. I never liked Lanny Davis. I know some conservatives do. They like playing with him, ideologically. I've never liked this guy. Never liked him. I think he's a dog turd on the map of American politics. No offense, of course. Now let's see, in the golden age of journalism and the freedom of the press, Mr. Tapper, if you'll tackle this one. So next year, when you speak to the Association of Travel Agents convention, maybe it really will be a golden age of journalism. And when you resign, it will be. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.